Yeah, I knew early on in 2018 when I was seeing 1111 for the first time in a 4 month blitz, unlike anything I've ever experienced, that there were two sides in this deal. There was a very serious spiritual warfare type thing going on. And it really showed up later that year on November 11th, which is a high occult day. That was a day the New Age movement had asked all of its adherents worldwide to participate in a mass meditation event that would take place at 11 o'clock UTC time. So on 11/11 at 11 o'clock UTC time, wherever you were supposed to stop and do their meditation thing. A few minutes before that began, God sent the most unusual seismic event in recorded seismic history. No seismologist knew what was going on. It went around the world. It was the event National Geographic ended up naming the day the earth rang like a bell, and I did a video on it if you want more information. But there they were, the two sides showing up on 11/11. And I think the same thing is happening now. I think he's using those numbers, 11/11, and that date in their face at them, telling them that their destruction and their judgment is coming. I really believe that's what we saw as we discussed in the previous video. Well, about a day after I posted that video, my sister called and said, "Have you seen the new University of Phoenix commercial? If you haven't, you need to see it." So I looked it up online. Okay, now look, I'm going to show you that commercial. Let me say to the people and the AI at YouTube, I have every right under the Fair Use Act to show copyrighted material if I'm going to do a review of said material, which is what I'm doing. I'm going to do a review of the University of Phoenix new TV campaign entitled Take a Hint, which came out a couple of months ago, apparently. The review synopsis is this. This commercial is the worst commercial in TV history for selling a product or branding a name. But that's not why they made the commercial. On the other hand, it's a brilliant presentation for why they really made the commercial. Now, it goes at lightning speed, so let me tell you what to look for, because it's going to pass real quickly. It opens in the kitchen. Mom's making breakfast. The family's coming in. On the right side of the screen, notice Junior. As he comes into the room, he's wearing a football jersey with the number 11 on the back. Then the camera pans quickly across the kitchen and you'll just barely see a calendar. The number 11, the day 11 on that calendar is circled. Now, you won't be able to tell what the month is, but I freezed it and watched it in a slow motion. It's January. So what they're saying is 1/11. Now, if there is such a thing as predictive programming, they're probably also saying they're expecting something next year because this came out in June. If they're highlighting January 11th, they're saying they're expecting something next year, if there's something to predictive programming. Then the father steps up next to Mom and says, "I'm thinking about getting my master's degree." And Mom says, with practically not even moving her mouth, it's the strangest thing I've ever seen, she says, "Well, I just heard that you could get one in a year for $11K. $11K? Who talks like that besides finance managers at new car dealerships?" Well, I was wondering why she said 11K instead of 11,000, and then it dawned on me, K is the 11th letter of the alphabet. So when she tells Dad 11K, she's really kind of saying 1111. The next scene, Dad's at a coffee shop. I don't know why. He was just in the kitchen. Why didn't he make himself a darn cup of coffee instead of spending $4.50 on one there at the... So anyway, he gets the coffee, and it's order number 11. Then he walks outside and there's a woman on her cell phone yakking, and she tells whoever she's talking to, "Let's meet at 11. And then she bumps into our hero. And as she's backing off, kind of apologizing, she gives him kind of a little wave, but her middle and forefinger form an 11 as she does that. He notices this. In the next scene, he's getting into a cab number 11. He tells the cab driver, I want to go to 1111 Masters Boulevard. I wonder who their master is. Oh, they'll reveal that at the end. So then there's a brief travel scene. If you look to the right of that brief travel scene, you'll see some towers. Maybe they're cell towers. They form kind of 1s and 11s. Everything in this commercial is designed. It's not selling anything from the University of Phoenix. It's barely even mentioned. When he arrives at his destination, the cab driver says that'll be 11 even. This is where it gets really interesting. So he gets out of the cab, apparently, and there's a disheveled man in a beard and ragged clothing, and he's holding a sign that says, the clues are all around us, or something like that. He says it in a very crazy conspiratorial manner. The clues are everywhere. The clues are all around us. But he's not a homeless person. He represents the iconic figure that has been used in cartoons for decades, the modern day Old Testament prophet who walks around the streets with the end is near sign. That's what he represents. Here's a couple of, examples of that. And even The Simpsons had Homer, I guess, apparently, perform that duty in one of their episodes. There he is walking around. So the crazy old man, so suddenly they bring into the commercial the crazy old man with this idea of prophecy and end times. It's just vaguely hanging there. It's very strange. And then the final scene. Oh, I'll talk about the final scene after you watch the commercial.
Hey, I was thinking about going back to school to get my master's.
I just saw something that said you could do it in a year for like $11K.
Order 11?
Yes, here at 11.
1111 Masters Boulevard, please.
It's gonna be 11 even, buddy.
Really?
The clues are all around us.
Some things are too obvious to be a coincidence.
We're living in an age where corporations, government agencies, they don't care anymore. They're going after the agenda full bore. Now let's take a look at the last moment of that commercial. You see the guy with the hoodie on, and on the back of the hoodie is an upside down pyramid. Our hero is staring at it. Off to the right, we see the sign that says 1 year, 11K, 1111, and the guy wearing this upside down pyramid or triangle. I knew that meant something after having seen what they had spent so much careful time filming. This was not some by chance the guy showed up for the shoot with an upside down pyramid on his hoodie. No, they made sure this shot was framed just right so that we would see it and it would appear like our hero is actually looking at it too. Well, what is the upside down pyramid? I knew it wasn't good, but I wasn't sure what it was, so I Googled it. And here was the first response on that page. Upside down triangle tattoos are popular among those who practice magic and the occult. The upside down triangle is a symbol of the fallen angel Lucifer, who was cast out of heaven for his rebellion against God. Lucifer is often associated with magic and the dark arts. So that was the point, to get us to know that the makers of that commercial, the owners of the University of Phoenix, are all in on the agenda. Or they're virtually signaling for some other reason, or they're sending a message to like-minded followers. I'm not sure what's going on. I'm not really too interested in what they think is going to happen next year. I think it's interesting that they would just do this, that they would just promote this kind of crazy association of their name and product with these events that we saw in the commercial. There were two guys who formed the University of Phoenix. Seemed like good guys. They were successful. They got bought out, like a lot of companies who are along that path. Guess who bought them? The Apollo Group. Now, a few weeks ago, I just happened to mention them by coincidence and talked about how silly that name is. And now we see really what the emphasis of that group is. When they were forming their little investment company, so what do we call this little group? Yeah, Amanda? Well, how about Satan's company? Well, I like where you're going, Amanda, but I think it's a little too soon and a little too on the nose, but we'll get there eventually. So they settled for the Apollo group. The thing that bothers me the most about this, I think, although there are a number of disturbing things about it, is that organizationally, they're more awake about their cause than we are organizationally. Now, you and I and millions of other Christians, we know that we're at the door. Even with what else, putting aside what has transpired on this channel over the last couple of weeks, if even that had not happened, we knew we were close. I've been telling you in video after video for most of this year that we are there. We have arrived. But the church doesn't get the message. The people who are going to follow the beast system, they seem to have gotten it. Where's the church in all of this? I looked at the top 10 biggest churches. There are several lists. I just grabbed the first one. I doubt that it's 100% accurate. It doesn't matter. It'll be a representation. 10 huge churches. And I wanted to see what they preached on last Sunday. I'm not here to make fun of those churches. I am sure that most of them provide a wonderful service. They love God, they love Jesus and all of that, but they are missing the moment they are called to see. They do not line up with the tone and the thrust of the message that Jesus has in the letters to the churches that begin the book of Revelation, nor at the end in the last chapter. Complete disconnect. I want to run through these quickly. The 10 biggest churches according to one survey. Let's see if any of these mega churches are urging their congregations to watch. Start watching. Biggest church on this survey was Life Church, Edmond, Oklahoma, 85,000 members. Doing a series called Overflow. Do you ever feel like you're not enough? Or what you have isn't enough to make a difference? Sometimes what seems insignificant at first can actually become an overflow. Let's learn how in our new series. The number 2 biggest church, Church of the Highlands, Birmingham, Alabama, 60,000 members. Understanding Spiritual Warfare was last Sunday. Number 3, Joel Osteen's church, Lakewood Church, Houston. 45,000 members. He talked about the joy in the journey. Number 4, Crossroads Church, Cincinnati, Ohio, 36,000 members. Grow Together was the sermon last Sunday. Number 5, Christ Church of the Valley, 30,000 members. Sexuality in the church. Number 6, Saddleback Church, Lake Forest, California, 28,000. Rick Warren's church. The courage to get moving. Number 7, Elevation Church, Matthews, North Carolina, 26,000 members. King Me was the name of the sermon. Number 8, Southeast Christian Church, Louisville, Kentucky. Reframe your confidence. Number 9, Christ Fellowship Church, Palm Gardens, Florida, 25,000 members. Kingdom Way of Living. Number 10, North Point Ministries, Alpharetta, Georgia, 25,000 members. In the Meantime series, what do you do when there's nothing you can do? These sound like life coach sermons. I mean, really, Dr. Phil could have delivered, I think, most of them. The one about spiritual warfare maybe touched on it, but I bet you it was a generic sermon on spiritual warfare. This is an epic fail. We are headed for the same disaster the children of Israel were headed for in the first century, not knowing the hour of their visitation. When the Son of God walked the earth, the Messiah was right there in front of them, and they missed it. We are headed for that if we can't wake up the church. We need to do something, because I don't want to someday be asked, all right, Stan, so what did you do? You knew it was coming. I gave you that thought that said the 7 churches, the letters to the 7 churches was a snapshot of today. So you knew it was for today. And then you were given other information. What did you do with it? I got excited. What else? Watch some other YouTube videos and Christian alternative blog sites. What else? That's about it. It can't possibly be just for our own satisfaction. We got to make an attempt. And I'm working on a plan. I hope to have it ready to present to you in a few days. It's not difficult. Well, there's one upfront thing. I'll just share this with you. I'm just simply going to ask that you send me half of your accumulated wealth and your main vehicle. Now, you won't drive your main vehicle to my house. You'll ship it. And we'll give you, no, it will be at most $5, $10 expenditure for postage stamps. I'll explain it in the next video, but folks, we got to do something. This is an epic fail. Here we are on the cusp of God about to move into the final phase of his plan that ends the day of the Lord and begins with the Lord coming upon the church. This is why he picked those 7 churches of Asia Minor. He said, this is what the mess is going to look like right before the end time events begin. One church that's suffering, one church that's watching, and the rest of them dysfunctional, and they need help. They're not where they need to be. That's exactly where the church is today. We've got to at least make an attempt to change that. God bless you. See you in a few days.